The OpenSSH suite comes bundled with three remote operation utilities. One is SSH, and I have covered what SSH is and what it does over in this video. And one is SCP, the secure copy protocol, and the other is SFTP, the secure file transfer protocol. Both of these programs are used to transfer files and directories to and from your remote machines securely by using the SSH protocol. Now SCP and SFTP are both command line tools because for the most part when you are connected to your remote machines or your cloud based instances, you don't have access to the graphical user interface. You only have the shell or the command line interface to interact with the machine. So which one should you use, SCP or SFTP? Well, that depends on the task at hand because both the tools perform the same operation but they do it a little differently, which I will explain later on. In this video I will be focusing on SCP. So for today's demo I have spun up a Linux virtual machine running on AWS and I will be transferring to and from that virtual machine on AWS. So when you create a virtual machine on AWS, it gives you a private or identity key to connect to your virtual machines in the cloud, and we will be using that key for authenticating the transfer of files to and from the virtual machine. So if you want to learn more about keys and how they work, or do you want to set them up for your own servers, go watch this video over here. Alright, so now let's get started. Okay, so I have my terminal open and I have split my terminal. So on the top will be my computer terminal and on the bottom I will use it to SSH into my Linux virtual machine running on AWS with the key that AWS gave us. So to use a key to SSH into a virtual machine or your remote server, simply type SSH and then I'm going to use a switch, which is the iSwitch. Now what the iSwitch does is that it specifies that a private key or a identity key will be used for authenticating the connection. So after the iSwitch you're going to type in the name of the key that you're going to use, which in our case is newcloud.pem. You can name your key whatever you want. After you have tapped in the name of the key that you're going to use, you're going to type in the name and IP address of your remote server or your virtual machine. So AWS provides us with a IPv4 public DNS address, so I'm going to paste that address over here and press enter. Okay, so now we are connected to our virtual machine running on AWS. So let's move on over to our computer terminal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a file and then we're going to transfer that file over to my virtual machine. So let's create a file and name it transfer to aws.txt. Okay, so now we're going to transfer this file over to our virtual machine. Type SCP, use the iSwitch and then the name of the key, and this is the same key that we use to connect to our virtual machine, and this is the same key that will authenticate the transfer of our file to our virtual machine. And after you have tapped in the name of the key, type in the name of the file that you're going to transfer. After this you're going to type in the name and IP address of the virtual machine, and after the address I'm going to add a colon and then I'm going to type in the location of where I want to transfer this file on my virtual machine, and I want to transfer this file in its home directory. And after you have tapped in the location, just press enter. And now let's check our virtual machine to see if the file has been transferred, and we can see that we have transferred a file from our computer to our virtual machine running on AWS. So now what if you want to transfer a directory? So let's make a directory and name it class nodes, and now let's create some files in class notes. Now chemistry.txt. Okay, so when transferring a directory, the command is the same, just we will add a new switch to it. Tap scp, use the iSwitch for the identity file, and then the name of the identity key, sorry, and then you're going to use another switch, the R switch, which tells scp to recursively copy the directory along with its contents. So after the R switch, you're going to type in the name of the directory, which is class notes, and after the name of the directory, you're going to type in the name and address of the virtual machine, and then add a colon, and then the location of where you want to transfer this directory on your virtual machine, Ubuntu, and press enter. Okay, so now let's check if the directory or the folder has been transferred, and you can see that class notes has been successfully transferred from our computer to our virtual machine. Now let's check the contents of class notes, and there we go, and all the files have been transferred successfully. Okay, so now this was what if you want to transfer a file or a directory that is on your server or your virtual machine in the cloud, and you want it copied over to your local computer. So let's create a file and a directory on our virtual machine, and then we will transfer that file and that folder over to our computer terminal, over to our over to our computer. So let's make a file, let's name it aws.txt, and then make a directory named on AWS. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to copy the file and the directory which is on our virtual machine running on AWS to our computer. So let's scp the iSwitch, then the name of the key, and now what you're going to do is you're going to type in the name and address of the virtual machine, add a colon, and now you're going to type in the location of where that file is on your virtual machine, which is in its home directory, and you're going to type in the name of the file that you want to copy it over. So after that, press enter, press space, and then you're going to type in the location of where you want to copy this file on your computer, and I want it copied in my home directory, and press enter. Now let's check if aws.txt has been transferred. Let's check it, AWS, and you can see that we have copied a file that is on our virtual machine in the cloud over to our computer. Now let's transfer that directory over here. So the command will be the same, just like last time, just new cloud, then use the R switch, and then the name and the address. Add a colon, and then the location of the directory, and then the location of where you want it transferred over to your computer. Now press enter, and let's check if on AWS has been transferred, and you can see that on AWS has been transferred successfully on our computer from our virtual machine running in the cloud. So we just learned how you can transfer files and directories to and from your remote machines or your cloud-based instances in a secure way by just using the command line. I hope you find this video useful, and if you learned something new, please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next one.